Hi everyone, I'm John Dickinson. Hey, just wanted to put together a short video here to encourage you. If you are listening to this, you're probably in trouble in your marriage. I was in that same place just 2 months ago.
My name is Janie, and in about a month, my husband and I will have been married 25 years. This is his second marriage for both of us, and we have 4 children between us and 8 grandchildren.
And thought I'd give you a little background, and I know that this program called Win Her Back in 8 Weeks that Bob has put together, it's an awesome program, and it will change you from the inside out, and it will restore your marriage. Obviously you have to work it.
It seemed the first 4 years of our marriage were very good. Just the normal ups and downs of trying to mesh 2 families together. But it was fun. Probably around the 5th year, it seemed that cracks in the foundation of our marriage started to show. Alcohol abuse was evident with my husband. It seemed that he became much more selfish, possibly calling it arrogant, very much less sensitive about my feelings and my desires. And we weren't able to talk about anything. If we tried to, it was always me that instigated trying to talk about things. And he would either shut me down totally or turn things around somehow to try to make it my fault. And I often would ask, please, we've got to get some counseling. And he would never do that.
You know, obviously it's because when you first got married, it was for love. And there was something there, and that something's been lost. And, you know, as Bob says, we're the man. If in your marriage there are issues, 99% of the time you are 100% responsible. That's what I found out through Bob. So things like pride and just being stubborn, etc., gets in the way. And Bob has a way to work you through that and work you back to your wife. I hope you will do that. It's worth it.
For anything good to happen in counseling, you have to be at the point where you're really willing to humble yourself and say, hey, maybe I need to make some changes. And he was never at a point where he would do that.
You know, we say things like, hey, you know, I work hard for you, honey. You know, look at what I did here. Remember all these good times. That's all pushback when she brings up issues. So, you know, I think you need to kind of stop for a moment. What was the turning point for me was all the stuff in this program that Bob's put together, but the real turning point was taking responsibility and fessing up to the fact that if things are wrong, I own it.
Finally, it was in October of this year, my stepson came out to help remodel our bathroom. And I would say that was the catalyst that just brought everything completely to a head. The 2 of them together began to drink excessively. They did work on the bathroom, but they would go gambling. They would be doing other things. I don't need to go into all the details, but it was just a total disregard for my feelings and also the feelings of my daughter and son-in-law and their 6 children who live here. And it was just a really horrible time for all of us. After my stepson went back, as I had said, it's about a 4-week period that this was all going on. I just told my husband that he had to leave. I'd made up my mind. I just couldn't live like this anymore.
Again, married 25 years. We had a great marriage, except, some things that I did, self-centered. Not on a continual basis, but I abused alcohol, and that was one of the big issues. We'd have family gatherings or something, and I'd drink too much. And, I'd ignore my wife's request to change. And it came down to about 2.5 months ago being asked to move out.
He decided to spend some time with his sister and her family. It was about 1,000 miles away. And I woke up one morning and just realized I felt totally safe. And my husband was never, ever physically abusive, but the emotional abuse was what I felt safe from. I had lived on an emotional roller coaster for so many years, up and down, wondering, well, is this going to be a really good day, or is this going to be a bad day? And I didn't feel that anymore, and it was just such a great release of all of those emotions. And even though I was deeply hurt and just devastated, because here I was, a grandma, retired, I didn't want the second part of my life to be another failed marriage. But I knew that I couldn't go on like this anymore. So I really, at that point, didn't want him back into my life. And I told him that I didn't know that I would ever, ever be able to trust him again. The years had just really taken away my respect for him, and it had chipped away at any love that I had for him. And I felt a tremendous betrayal of trust that a husband and wife need to have in order to have a good marriage.
When an incident like my having to move out because of a fight and a riff at the time, when that happens, and I'm sure this is true in your life, the first reaction that we have is to push back, defend ourselves. Point out all the things that we've done that counteract whatever the issues are. I mean, it hurts just to be to have your wife pick at you or find fault with you. It's there. I know I needed a mentor. This has been really, for me, just an eye-opener and just a heck of an experience in going through these last 2 months with Bob's Win Her Back in 8 Weeks program. So you and I need wisdom, we need direction, we need coaching. And some of what I learned was that I had to reevaluate, again, the inner man, to change him, to change the way I think, in order to present an improved outer man, one that would put our marriage on a new path. Man, it was hurtful.
We didn't talk for a little while, but then things come up in a marriage. Maybe a financial thing we needed to talk about, or whatever it was. And we began to talk on the phone a little bit. And I could tell that he really wanted to work things out. But I thought, it's just the same old thing. He's just going to want me to say, okay, I'll try one more time. And I was determined I was not going to do that. And so I basically told him, I don't even want to think about us ever getting back together unless you find a counseling program that's biblically based. I want it to be really, really tough. And I want it to be a genuine thing that you want to do. And somehow I have to have proof that you're actually doing it. And I really didn't have any hopes that he was going to do any of this.
at one point, as I'd moved out, I saw the hurt that I'd caused my wife. We texted a few times or did Facebook a few times. Video, FaceTime. And I just, she was crying. She was hurt. She didn't trust me. And for the first time, rather than sitting there when I've done some things that I'm not proud of, and she wants to call me out on it, instead of sitting there with that attitude of, oh God, when is this going to be over so I can just get out of this conversation and go about my day. For the first time, I saw just the hurt. I saw into her heart the hurt that I had caused.
But as we would talk about things that were going on, things that we needed to talk about, I began to notice my husband saying things that weren't him, things that he would never have said before. And I thought, something's going on. I wonder if he has gotten into some counseling, because this isn't my husband. But it wasn't fake yet. It didn't have the ring of fake to it or a manipulation. It really seemed to be genuine, but I didn't want to believe it because I'd been fooled so many times before. But on one of our conversations, I just said, have you gotten into any counseling? And he said yes, that he had. And he didn't say much about it. If he had come out and said, oh yeah, I'm into this great counseling program and I'm this and that, he would have been kind of lifting himself up again, which was the old John. But because he was quiet about it, I had to pull everything out of him pretty much. I thought, something's going on. Something's happening inside my husband. So I kept pulling, I kept asking, and actually I wanted to go online and find out what this program was, because he said he had found it online. He said it involved Zoom conversations, videos to watch, online books to download and read, and some Zoom of guys in groups and things. And I thought, okay, this sounds much better than an hour a week in a counselor's office. So I thought, wow, I was really proud of him to have found that. But even so, I didn't know how much time he was devoting to it. He could have just been telling me this is what it is and not devoting much time to it at all. So I really was very skeptical of what the outcome would be. But as we would talk more, and I found myself asking more and more questions, and then it just seemed that more and more he was saying things that I had wanted to hear for years. And he seemed to genuinely be developing a humility. He seemed for the first time to take responsibility for his actions, for things he had failed to do. He seemed to genuinely care that he had hurt me so many times for so long. And that was an amazing breakthrough, because part of what I wanted was just for my husband to acknowledge that he was a big part of my hurt and my pain. And you'll have to forgive me. My tears are mixed because the hurt and the pain is still there. It takes a long time to get rid of that. But part of my tears are just that all the years of prayer, I feel, have been answered. Because unbeknownst to me, John was involved in Bob's program that was just changing him radically.
And again, we had a lot of good times. We had a lot of good stuff. We've been married 25 years, but we are all fallen. And there's things that maybe we don't see that we need to see. And obviously, if it's come to this, as it did for me 2 months ago, as it probably is for you right now, saying, hey, I'm on a precipice here of which way are we going to go? Again, finances aside, and what you may pay for the program, you're going to pay a whole lot more. You're going to pay a whole lot more financially and in hurt relationships. I don't know if you have kids or not. Mine are grown. But I didn't get married in the first place to get to a point where it failed. That is not what I wanted. So, sitting there and through this program, after being able to acknowledge that I'm the biggest part of the equation, why there's brokenness, and how to handle that, both internally and with your wife, but just internally, again, rather than pushing back and fighting, finding out what's wrong and fixing it. And words do not work. It's got to be a change internally. And Bob can help you do that. Man, it's biblically based. There's a lot of wisdom there that he puts forth.
And about this time, for some reason, I don't remember why, we didn't talk for a few days. And then when we talked again, he said that he had moved back to the area and he was living in an extended stay hotel. Well, immediately, just that thought that he was back in the area, I became very angry because I felt very vulnerable just having him close again. There was a safety net when he was 1,000 miles away, because my emotions were raw and I was vulnerable and I did not want to be hurt again. So I didn't talk to him for a little while, and then I began to realize in my heart, wait a minute, if he is really working hard to change, I owe it to our marriage to find out more about what this change is. So we decided to start having coffee together. Coffee shops are pretty safe places to meet. We began to meet for coffee. I could see his body language. I could see in his eyes. And I realized, yes, my husband is changing. And the more he shared was just from his heart. I mean, it really was. And I had never seen my husband cry about anything to do with our marriage before. And sometimes he would tell me how sorry he was for all the hurt and pain. And there would be tears in his eyes. And I thought, this is not my husband. What's going on? And so I began to ask him more and more about this program. And the interesting thing is that he did not volunteer things on his own. And as I said, I think if he had just been full of himself, I would have said right away, something fishy's going on. But the fact that he kept so much of it to himself about the program, but he didn't hesitate to let me know how much he loved me, how sorry he was, the things that he was trying to change. I mean, just so many good things that I'd wanted to hear for years. And the more and more we met, my heart began to change because I could feel that there was hope. For the first time in years, I felt there was hope. And that softened my heart to the reality that I might be able to someday trust this man. But I never dreamed it would be anytime soon. But long story short, God just worked a miracle, not only in my husband, but also in my heart. And we decided that we would begin to not restore our marriage, but to have a brand new marriage. And we moved into a totally different place. We've been here about a week and a half. This is such a big step for me because I truly thought if we ever got back together, it would be at least a year down the road. But this is just sometimes how God works. He surprises us with His goodness. But as I say before, I wanted to find out more about this program. so I just kept asking and asking. And finally he told me the name of it. And now I know why he never wanted to share it before, because it's named to catch the attention of any guy that genuinely wants to get his marriage healed. Because it's called How to Get Her Back in 8 Weeks. And, but when he told me, I was already at the point where I totally got it. It's geared to guys, not to women. And so it wasn't at all offensive to me. In fact, I could even laugh about it because I'd seen the change in my husband. So for those of you women out there who might be skeptical, if you've heard your husband is interested in this program, I can tell you, just give it a chance. It's been more than a lifesaver. It's been an absolute miracle for John and for me and for our family, because when you have rough stuff in your marriage, there's collateral damage to other loved ones. There really was a lot of collateral damage to our loved ones. And so it involves a lot of people. And it's very worthwhile to give it a try. And for you guys out there, just go for it. And when we moved in, for the first time, I saw my husband's notebook. Now, I haven't read it, and I'm not going to, because that's private between him and the Lord and everything Bob was guiding him to do. And we laugh now. We say, oh, that's Bob. That's Bob's this. That's Bob's that. But I have a very soft spot in my heart now for Bob's program. I would always recommend it highly. It has just, as I say, just been a blessing to both of us. And because it's biblically based, I think that's the main reason that it got to me, because I wanted to know that my husband wanted to love me as the Lord wants a man to love his wife. And so that when I began to see the change in him, it just greatly softened my heart. So I'm so thankful to Bob's program, and I pray that that those of you out there will give it a try who really are serious about wanting to change and get your marriage not back to where it was, but better than ever you dreamed it could be. That would be my prayer for each of you.
Live with your wife in an understanding way. That's a lot of what he will put forth. So I don't know if this helps you or not. I know for me it was a real panic mode of, will it work? Yeah, it'll work if you work it. And it's certainly all worthwhile. So I hope that this helps you make that decision. I know it's a hard one to pull the trigger, to join the program. You will be happy that you did. It is worth every nickel. Just from a practical point of view, being guys, just, if you go through with a divorce, you got a divorce lawyer cost, you're going to split everything you own in half. I think that's a lot more than what's being asked out of this program. God bless you.